and try to growl. The resulting image would have failed to frighten a gnat. "Totally not a werewolf," I said. "Seriously. Would a werewolf cook Schweinsbraten? I don't think so." Gilbert looked up from licking the lingering juices from the counter. "Don't look at me like that. So I like meat. So what? You like meat? Does that mean I might be a cat?" Ears rotated away from me, Gilbert resumed scraping the tiles with his tongue. "Tune me out if you want, but you know I'm right. Me? A werewolf? Come on. Abernathy is out of his fool mind." Abernathy. Otherwise known as Mark Andrew Abernathy. Otherwise known as my boss. Otherwise known as 6 feet 5 inches of muscled, dark-haired, bedroom-eyed... Yum. Otherwise known as a 431-year-old werewolf. As if discovering my boss is a werewolf wasn't enough to drive me into a box of Girl Scout cookies, he'd recently informed me that I was a werewolf, too. Or a werewolf heir. Which, as I understood it, meant that I was one genetic twist away from having an excuse never to shave my legs again. Talk about complicating the ever-loving shit out of things. And I don't care if I am his gallery assistant. Asking me to clean out Mrs. Cass's studio is just wrong. I mean, she tried to kill me. The late Mrs. Rosemary Cass had recently been relieved of her head by a Remington M870 pump shotgun, operated by one of the gallery's other resident artists, Scott Kirkpatrick. Of course, she had been on the verge of ordering her psychotic werewolf daughter, Penny, to eat Abernathy's heart at the time. Admittedly, my recollection of the events was somewhat suspect, as Mrs. Cass also had her mangled half-werelady paw clutched around my neck and was threatening to disembowel me. She was a multitasker. A thump resounded across the scarred wood floor of my kitchen as Gilbert dove off the counter. I followed him into the living room/boudoir/couching area of my studio apartment, where he assumed his regular post on the couch's arm over the old brass radiator. The radiator, along with the quirky angles and niches of this converted Victorian in Georgetown, Colorado, was one of the reasons I had chosen this place post-divorce, but pre-Abernathy. Just because she and her daughter wanted me dead doesn't prove I'm a werewolf. Or a werewolf heir, I pointed out. It's a case of mistaken identity. Someone needs to lay off the paint chips in their Alpo. I plopped down on the couch next to him and kicked my pig-slippered feet onto the coffee table. I mean, Penny tried to kill you too, and you're not a werewolf. At this, Gilbert rose, turned a half-circle, and gave me his wide rump. "Sorry," I said. "Sore subject. And I guess she didn't try to kill you as much as eat you, per se." His tail began to flick. I know, I sighed. Back to the roast. At 5'11" I could reach stuff on the top shelf at the supermarket, which came in especially handy at the liquor store. This particular skill was also of considerable value the following morning as I went through the process of de-junking Mrs. Cass's old studio at the Crossing. I may have initially lied my way into a job at the combination art gallery/oddity shop, but had since found ways to make myself both indispensable and endlessly irritating to Abernathy, the complex's owner. If Costco gave out samples of crazy old lady house as opposed to chicken sausage, Mrs. Cass's studio was what they would look like. A tiny 8x10 cross-section of lavender-scented, fur-covered, object-crammed hell. I had filled 5 economy-sized trash bags full of assorted junk to clear a pathway to open the window. The garbage on either side of the path was piled as high as my shoulders everywhere except the small space she'd left for painting. Her neglected easel sat in one corner of the studio. Her palette lay on top of a pile of rags, the blobs of oil paint on its surface drying into colorful scabs. Worn paintbrushes did headstands in a mason jar of turpentine. The earthy scent of linseed oil still clung to the air. I sat on a wooden orange crate and watched the dust motes perform a Brownian dance in the half-light, procrastinating further action. Winter's chill had loosened its stranglehold, and spring waited with bated breath to descend. In the 10 years I'd lived in